All right, I have my key ready here. So follow along. Make sure you write down things that if you got it wrong, make the correction right next to it. It helps. Okay. As long as you use a marker or a pen, right? So here we go. This triangle here, you should recognize that there's a pair, right? So definitely sine law, right? There's not even a question about it. So if you identify that it is sine law, if you're using sine law in any way, shape, or form, you get 1 mark already, okay? And then the problem is I want this side, yet I don't have the angle across from it. But I do have 2 angles, right? So to find this angle, I'm just going to do it right there, minus 56 minus the 72, and that gives me 52 degrees, okay? If you found that, you get a mark. If the 52 shows up in some way, shape, or form, you get the mark there. Let me zoom into that one, right? Maybe easier for you to see. There it is. So 1 mark for that, 1 mark for using sine law. How is that? And then you take the pair you know, sine of 56 over 60. And since you want side P, you need to use that 52, right? Sine of 52 degrees over P. Okay. Cross multiply and divide. So set it up. Some of you will see a note in your quiz saying, where's your setup, right? This is what I mean by that. And after the setup, if you do a separate line where you say the letter is this, you can put your final answer right next to it. And that's supposed to be 57.03, and we are in centimeters, right? So you get 1 mark for the correct final answer. So 1 mark, if I see sine at all, like, you get a mark for that because you've identified the correct law to use. Then 1 mark for the 52 and 1 mark for the 57.03 centimeters. 3 marks for that one question. So the total will change. I tell you that already. The total will change. So let's go over to B. This B, not the other B, the one to the right. It's asking for angle Y. Watch this, right? So this is the one they want. Okay, that's clear. Then I look and I'm like, all 3 sides are known to me. This is a side, side, side situation, which means, guys, the SSS only shows up like somewhere outside of it. It never comes into the formula, right? So that's just to tell me I'm going to use cosine law. I use my formula sheet or the study sheet. On the study sheet, I will clearly identify that this is the one I'm using for a triple side scenario. And if I want angle Y, in this case, then side Y must be on the other end. That's what I want you to highlight on your study sheet. Okay? Don't be so fixated with ABC, right? So if I want cosine of Y, that's how you start your statement, okay? Some of you are not starting it like this. Make sure you start it that way if you want full marks, okay? So Y is here. I need the side. This is lowercase y right here. I need to go minus 19.2 squared like that. Sorry. And then the other 2 sides are squared and added. Underneath it, you go 2 times 11.3, right? You take that first side and you multiply it by the second side. This one back here never shows up. Like, again, that's the only time it shows up. I'm going to skip here. I'm going to go cosine of y. The top gives you negative 142.94. And the bottom gives you 223.74. Where, if you have that, if you use cosine law to start you off, you get 1 mark. Then for the work, my next line is going to be like this. Watch. It's going to be negative 0.638 dot dot dot. And so angle Y is cosine inverse of negative We talked about that quite often, right? That if there's a negative, I'm expecting an obtuse angle, which means it's greater than 90. So I get 129.71 degrees for my final. And so let's go back to marks. 1 mark for using cosine law and setting it up properly. 1 mark for the work that goes with it, and 1 mark for the correct final answer. So 3 marks for B. Okay. Just have this on your study sheet so you know how to show it, right? Solving for angles. I know sometimes I do put the decimal right next to the fraction, and that's fine. Okay. Let's do this one here. You look at it. Is there a pair? I can't get a pair, but I recognize that I have a side, and the angle in between. You should recognize that this is side, angle, side. The angle is in between the two sides. So that is cosine law. I would like to see this, right, as you're identifying, because SSS, SAS are cosine law cases. So I want L. I'm going to look at my study sheet. And if it's SAS, it's this one that I'm using. If I want to find this side, in this case it's side A, then I must have the angle across from it and the end here. That's what I want you to focus on. So in this case, L is my unknown. I square it. I take the other two sides, square those. Cosine of 70, right? So there's that. My next line is L is equal to square root. See, the square is gone because I'm square rooting. So I need to type all of this in, and I get 244.4087809. If you're typing this in individually, make sure you write this very clearly, because some of you are typing in like you're confusing a 7 with a 1 or something like that, and then your answer is slightly off, so you get a rounding error from my part, right? So this gives you 15.63 centimeters. Again, if you use cosine law, if you have that set up, you get 1 mark. For the work that goes in between, you get 1 mark. And then final answer, you get 1 mark. So 3 marks again for the other B. There's 2 B's. My bad. So question 1 is out of 9. If you want to put a total, a tally for that part, just for that part, make it out of 9 already, so that when you add it up later, it's faster. So if you're struggling with how to use sine law, cosine law, go back to the videos, watch them, and it's all there. Okay. Now the one that's probably the most difficult. I know it's difficult. It's not easy, right? So that's why I've done lots of examples, right? And here's it is again, right? So I need to know ultimately how tall this is. Height is always measured at a 90 with the ground, by the way. Okay, so that's established. Now I'm going to focus on, because the only side that I have is right here. That's all I have to go by. So you have to kind of stay with this triangle right here. Okay. My first step, if you got this, then great. If not, pay attention. This is 120. If that shows up, you get 1 mark. If the 120 shows up, you get a mark. Got that? If you get this part here, this would be 180 minus the 120 you just found, minus the 40. You get 20 degrees there. If that 20 shows up here, you get another mark. So 1 mark, 1 mark. Right? Now, I have a pair. I'm going to use a different highlighter. This one goes with that side right there. They both happen to be 20. So that's my pair. I know I need to use sine law. You get a mark if you're using sine law, by the way, right? And now it's the choice. Don't mark it wrong just yet, okay? If you're using 40, sine of 40, right? That means that you're solving for this side. I'm going to call that y. And don't, I'll tell you what you should be getting if you found this side. Just hold on a bit. So if it's sine of 40 over sine of 20, then this is 37.59. So you get 1 mark for setting it up and using sine law, and 1 mark for correct final answer. Oop, it's supposed to be meters. Oh, what are you getting if you're out here? I think it's 50. Is it 50.64? Yeah, 50. Okay. I'm just remembering. I don't have it on my key. So if you got 50.64, good. You still get the 2 marks here for that, regardless. So that's, see, I taught it to you that way. And now I'm purposely going the other way, right? Because I want you to see that you can do both, okay? So if you use the small one here, then my diagram is going to look like this. This is the one I want to know. I just found this one, which is 37.59. And I know this one, this angle is the 60 here. Okay, so pair and over there, so sine of 90 over 37.59, sine of 60 over x. You're going to get the exact same answer. Cross multiply and divide, right? Can't do this fast enough. That's 32.55. So you get 1 mark for using sine law and 1 mark for correct final answer. So we are total out of 6 for that one. So scratch the 3 here. That's not enough, not nearly enough to give 3 marks there. So watch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put a mark out of 6 next to that question. And it's, this page is now 9 and 6. It's out of 15. If you want to put it at the bottom of your page here, this whole page should be out of 15. Any questions about this? Put one of these on your study sheet, maybe. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to put on there. That's the one thing I don't like to do, tell you exactly what to have on there, because that's a freebie, right, to bring that in. Okay. So here you have this 90. Like this is a north-south line meeting this line right here. So you were supposed to assume that it is a 90 here at this corner. So to get that one, you just go 90 minus 42, which is 48 degrees. If you have the 48, you get 1 mark for that. So now you have an angle inside that triangle, this one here, and its side, another side, and the angle in between. That's SAS. So they want how far Meg is from the border. They want this side right here. So x squared is equal to 3.2 squared plus 5.8 squared. If you don't have this, write this down. Cosine of 48. If you use 42, you would only lose 1 mark there, okay? If you use 42. X is equal to square root of 19.04187.189. That is 4.36 kilometers. Okay, here's your mark allocation. You're going to get 1 mark for using cosine law, 1 mark for work, and 1 mark for the correct final answer. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 for that 48. So this is going to be out of 4 here. It's just a lot easier to just give 1 mark for each concept. Next, it says, what is the angle at Meg's location? So they want this here. Let's give it a letter. I'm going to give it capital A or capital M, whatever you want to do. In this case, you have side, side, side. I don't know if you noticed that. This is 4.36 now. So we have side, side, side. But you also have a pair, right? So I'm going to go using sine law. I'm going to use sine law. I'm going to use sine of 48 degrees over 4.36. And which side do I have to use to find angle A? I have to use that side because it's across from the angle I want. So this is 3.2 going here, and sine of A is right there. I don't know what it is. So cross multiply and divide. So sine of A is 3.2 times sine of 48 divided by 4.36. If you use cosine law, just hold on for a bit. I'm going to go over that as well. I need to do this real quick. 3.2 times sine of 48, 4.36, 0.5454. 27. 394. So angle A is, watch this, you have to use sine inverse if you're using sine law. I'm just going to do that, and that is 33.05 degrees. If you use cosine law, you get that angle A is 33.01. We'll give it to you either way. Okay. Marks, you may ask. 1 mark for setup, and I'll just give you 1 mark for the correct final answer. So 2 marks. We'll keep keeping that at 2. Next. The height there shouldn't have been there. Well, I don't mind it being there to throw you off a little bit, but they didn't ask for it, right? We could have found it, but they didn't ask for it. So we have all this information. You need to figure out, what am I going to use? You look at the big triangle. There are 2 angles and 1 side. Folks, listen carefully. Look at cosine law. You can only use these 2. You need a minimum of 2 sides for cosine law to even qualify, right? Potentially, but none of these apply. So you have that third angle up here. You have the 2, right? So 180 minus 32. Don't underestimate the power of this, right? It will save you out of a lot of situations. So you get 1 mark if the 70 shows up. And I need to differentiate. So I'm going to make the distance between Mariah and the eagle, I'm going to call that X, and this distance, I'm going to call that Y. Just to be clear, right? I have to be careful here. Y is not equal to 70. It's just that this angle here is 70, right? So sine of 70, right, over the 250 is equal to sine of 78 over X, because it's across from it. I'm going to skip this part, and I'm just going to say that X is equal to 260.23 meters. And you've clearly labeled it on your diagram, so we know that this is the distance between Mariah and the eagle. right? Next, we have, I'm going to start with the exact same pair, but now I'm going to use the 32 to find y. And that is, I'm skipping that part, and I'm getting you 140.98 meters. And this is Mariah. This is Kumar. Okay. Marks. How would I mark this? One there, one for using sine law, and one for the answer. So 2 and 3. And then to find Kumar, it's one for the setup and one for the final answer. So this whole thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not 3. It's out of 5, not 3. Okay.